Hi, y'all. This is Michaela. I wanted to go ahead and begin my discussion. Yes, it is Saturday. Yes, I did decide to do it on today because I was very, very sick yesterday. I wanted to go ahead and do a recap over this week and how amazing it was to have our guest speaker on Thursday to talk about the men's movement and his part that he played in the men's movement and how he didn't put himself in just one box. He um, spread himself across all the movements and established where did he fit it into that movement or um, into that area that somebody else is strong about. Um, he really clearly established that he isn't a type of person that you want to put in a box. However, he still holds strong to his manhood. He displays that he is not defined by big D discourse, which is the institutions such as school, social media, and even TV, just or anything like that. By the way that he allows his family to freely express themselves, how he he thinks of his marriage as partnership, or this is my partner and not my wife. He doesn't allow himself to be defined by that role or allows his wife to be defined by wife or him to be defined as husband. He also allows his son to freely express himself by allowing him not to cut his hair and really express, he's that macho man. You need to cut your hair. You look like a female. But he allows the people in his inner circle to express themselves and really expects other people to express themselves and be feel free and comfortable in the shoes that they're walking in. Also, he wanted us to identify where do we stand in the men feminist movement. Another question that was brought up about men feminists is why does it have to be a men in front of the feminist part? He addressed that and he said, it really doesn't have to be there. So did Big D, the institution, have a role on him putting that man in front of the feminist? Yeah, it did. So we have to be careful because even the smallest things that we do are sometimes influenced by just society around us and where we live. So we can't really be free from everything that the culture that we live in has set up for us, or even just the society we live in. Because the more we try to escape, the more that we have within us. Um, with the identifying where I stand inside the men feminist part, I would say that I would agree with that a man should know who he is as an individual. It goes with identifying who you are as an individual. And I think that's just feminist as a whole, being strong and uprooted in what you truly are, and being able to help other people identify who they are and stand strong to that and not be discouraged by what other people say, because it really doesn't matter what other people say unless they start paying your bills. And still, with that being said, they should be able to accept you for who you are, and that's it. Um, I wanted to address the Promise Keepers. My group worked on the Promise Keeper and part of that movement, and how men identify that they have biblical standards. I feel like that is a wonderful thing. That if that's the way that you express yourself, you stand on biblical standards. However, you have to be able to accept other people, like I said, and where they stand as individuals. So we have to be careful what we label ourselves and how we put ourselves in boxes. With going back to the Promise Keepers, part of my reading on that was that they allow men to express themselves and be freely upright. However, they silence the women in that movement, in which I'm not accepting of that. Maybe other women are accepting of that, but maybe men felt that they were being oppressed by women during that time. But going back on something that I cannot remember, but another author stated, or no, Shark Fu stated this, you have to remember, or you have to accept that you are the one with power. How can you be oppressed when you are the one with power? And just going back and forth, meaning that if you're the one who makes the rules, remember, men make the rules, this is their society, how could they feel oppressed? And I feel like you can only be oppressed if you're the man or the people, the majority with the power. You only can be oppressed by yourself. And you only be oppressed by people that are just like you, the men, other men with power. So I think that goes into another identity or another thing that men are fighting against. It's not fighting against women. It's more fighting against themselves and fighting against the power. Um, I wanted to address the Million Man's March and say that that was a short-lived movement that still needs to exist. However, with anything that you get involved in, there's always going to be a minority that does most of the work and the majority that wants to claim to have done the work or just wants to put their name onto something. So I would like to see more of that happening around Atlanta, Georgia, and even just across the U.S. And I just wanted to, go ahead and address what our guest speaker said on Thursday. Why aren't there a lot of African American men that are involved in this men feminist movement? And I would address that and say, now I'll address it, is that where your priorities may be different than African American men today's priorities. So what you're fighting against isn't the same thing that they're fighting against. Your oppression is against your brother or people that are among you, and you really don't realize that. You think it's the opposite. You think it's the woman that you're being oppressed by. But we are the minority. We can oppress you. We're being oppressed by y'all. So just take senses of that. And I just want to also just go ahead and discuss the poetics part of it and just say I'm very happy that men are starting to address their more emotional side and being able to express themselves in that movement, and I stand firm to that. Thanks, y'all.